Welcome back to our channel. In today's video, you'll witness the emotional journey as our rescue team saves a young turtle struggling under a heavy layer of barnacles and algae covering its shell. Stay with us from start to finish to see how we carefully remove each barnacle without causing harm, giving this little turtle a chance at a healthy life once again. It was an ordinary day, the kind where the world moves a little too fast and no one really stops to listen. But in a forgotten corner of shallow water, where the sun barely reached and the shadows seemed heavier than they should be, something quiet was crying out for help. Not with sound, not with motion, but with stillness. There, in a murky layer of sediment and floating debris, lay a small figure, fragile, motionless, barely distinguishable from the muck around it. From a distance, it could have been dismissed as a stone or a clump of algae. But as we came closer, our eyes caught a glimpse of something deeper, a tiny, heaving breath, slow, strained, and full of effort, a baby turtle, and it was in trouble. What once was a shell meant to protect had become its burden. Its once smooth, patterned back was now overrun by layers of coarse barnacles and thick green algae. They clung to it like shackles, growing unchecked, feeding off its weakness. The weight of it all was enormous. For something so small, so young, it was unbearable. The barnacles weren't just attached, they were embedded. Sharp and hard, they pierced through the outer shell like parasites, creating lesions and holes that bled slowly with every movement. The algae formed a blanket, smothering the surface, wrapping around its limbs and neck like ropes, restricting its freedom, stifling its spirit. This baby had been like this for a long time. The signs were clear. Its eyes were tired, dull. Its limbs barely moved. It wasn't swimming. It wasn't fighting. It had surrendered, but was still breathing. That meant it hadn't given up hope. Not yet. We scooped it gently from the water. It didn't flinch. It didn't resist. It simply allowed itself to be carried, as though it had been waiting, hoping for someone to notice, for someone to care. Our hearts broke. This wasn't just a case of sick turtle. This was neglect, not by nature, but by humanity. Water doesn't become like this on its own. Barnacle overgrowth doesn't happen overnight. This baby was a victim of time, yes, but also of pollution, of human apathy, of the slow, creeping consequences of what we discard, what we ignore. We brought it back to our facility, where silence turned into action. We started with warmth. A carefully monitored water bath to regulate its temperature and stabilize its condition. Then came the assessment. Its shell was covered, almost completely. Some barnacles were fresh and soft. Others had hardened into stone, forming mounds that jutted out unnaturally. Algae grew thick and deep, tangled in its small flippers and stretching across its face. We began the process slowly. Removing barnacles is delicate work, especially when the shell beneath is already compromised. We use fine tools, warm saline, and gentle hands. Each barnacle we removed came with a gasp, not from the turtle, but from us. Underneath were open wounds, raw skin, and signs of infection. The shell was thin in places, almost translucent. The damage was deeper than we had feared, but the turtle stayed still, breathing, watching us, trusting us. With every hour, we made progress. The algae came off in sheets, revealing what had been hidden for so long. Natural color, markings, identity. The baby began to blink more, move slightly, respond to touch. Not much, but enough. We treated the wounds with antiseptic, administered fluids, and prepared nutrient-rich food. Days passed. The turtle began to show signs of life again, turning its head, lifting its limbs, blinking with curiosity. One morning, it even tried to paddle in its shallow tank, clumsily, but with purpose. That was the moment we knew. It had chosen to fight. You might wonder why a single turtle matters. Why we go through all this for one small creature in a world full of need. The answer is simple. Because every life matters. Especially the ones too small to fight back. Especially the ones whose pain goes unseen. This turtle story is not unique. There are thousands, maybe millions like it, covered in barnacles, weighed down by algae, trapped in waters too toxic to survive. Many never get rescued. They suffer in silence, dying slowly under the weight of what they cannot shed. And the cause? Often it's us. Trash dumped into rivers, chemicals leaking into lakes, boats that churn up the waters and disturb fragile habitats. Climate shifts driven by human activity that alter ecosystems and disrupt natural balances. It all comes back to the choices we make every day, what we throw away, what we ignore, what we believe is someone else's problem. But it doesn't have to be this way. We can change. We can pay attention. We can take responsibility. When we rescue a turtle, we're not just saving an animal. We're righting a wrong. We're repairing a piece of the damage we've done. We're reminding ourselves that compassion must extend beyond our species, that the quiet suffering of the smallest creatures deserves just as much care as the loud cries of the world's biggest problems. This baby turtle, tiny, silent, forgotten, now has a future because someone stopped, someone noticed, someone cared. And it's not just about this one moment. It's about what we do next. We must clean our waters. We must reduce our waste. We must educate others. We must create spaces where turtles don't have to fight so hard just to breathe. And we must remember that hope doesn't always roar. Sometimes it comes in the form of a slow blink, a small paddle, a breath. This turtle is still with us. It's healing. It's growing stronger. And one day, when it's ready, we'll let it go, clean, healthy, and free. But we'll never forget the weight it carried, the struggle it endured, or the silent cry it gave in that quiet corner of the water. Let that be our reminder that beneath the surface, there lies waiting for us to notice. Let that be our call to action. Let that be our promise to protect what cannot speak but still feels. Because if we can save even one shell from breaking, one life from slipping away unnoticed, then maybe, just maybe, we can save ourselves too.